This week we got some news out of Amazon, and it is not good. They're laying off more than 100 employees in their games division. Now to start, this really sucks for anybody that was impacted by this, and my hope is that they can find employment soon. You know, when decisions like this are made, it usually comes from the top, from people who really only care about making money, but the people impacted are the ones that actually care about their craft and have a passion for making games. But when things like this do happen, it does give us some insight into the priorities of a company. And with this announcement, we can see a little bit better the vision ahead for Amazon Games. To me, Amazon seems to be taking a broad stroke with its games division, focused on not only creating their own games, but creating an entire ecosystem, including developing, but also publishing and creating content around video games. But let's take a look at the memo that was sent to associates to see what you think. So quickly on the macro environment at Amazon, Andy Jassy, who took over as CEO in 2021, has been focused on cutting costs across the company. And just last month announced they would lay off 9,000 employees, which is on top of a previous 18,000. Which leads us to this week's announcement, laying off a little more than 100 employees across its video games division. These layoffs include employees from its Game Growth Group, its San Diego Gaming Studio, and Prime Gaming. A memo sent from Vice President of Amazon Games, Christoph Hartmann, has been circulating around the internet. So let's dig into that to see what we can find that points to Amazon's strategy with Amazon Games, their upcoming titles, and New World. So looking at this memo, let's start right here at the top in the second paragraph. He says that we have a unique opportunity to become one of the leading publishers of high quality gaming content, whether that's creating our own games internally, publishing titles from other developers, providing entertaining shows, or offering great content via Prime Gaming. Now this is important because it gives us some insight into how Amazon Games sees themselves and kind of how they see their future playing out. Let's start with creating our own games. Obviously, Amazon has not had a great record with publishing its own games. In 2020, they released Crucible, then canceled it. They announced the Lord of the Rings MMO, which was later canceled. And after many delays, they did release New World, but that has been met with mixed receptions. But when you go a bit further down into the memo, we see that it mentions New World as well as a few upcoming titles. So here we see the New World team will grow, our studio in Montreal will continue to expand and is making progress on their unannounced project, and the San Diego studio will double down on pre-production phase of their unannounced game, as that project is not yet ready for a full-size production team. Now, I'll probably get into the specifics on each of these games in a future video, but what's important here is that we're looking at 3 internally created games, New World and then these 2 upcoming games. And per this memo, New World is growing its team. You know, they just launched Seasons, which I covered in a previous video, but for now, New World seems likely to continue on its own in its current state as Amazon tries to get as much money out of its players as possible. Now, the Montreal studio game is progressing on their unannounced project, and per the memo, that studio is also expanding. I haven't seen a whole lot about this title, but they are hiring a number of roles, and in 2021 hired former Ubisoft executive who worked on games such as Rainbow Six. Then there's the San Diego studio, which, as far as I'm aware, started teasing their project even before the Montreal studio was opened. And per the memo, they're doubling down on their pre-production phase as they aren't ready for a whole team yet. Now, this game has had an interesting path from being teased online, to losing its studio head John Smedley, to now being labeled as pre-production. But if I had to take a guess at the path forward with Amazon's internally developed games, it's likely going to look like New World continuing on with seasonal content focused on grabbing money, an announcement upcoming in maybe the next year or 2 from the Montreal studio, and then last, something coming from the San Diego studio regarding their project. Now going back to the top and looking at these other 3 parts that Christoph mentioned, I think this is where we really start to get insight into this ecosystem that they're creating at Amazon Games, starting with something that Amazon has done well, publishing titles from talented developers. Look at the success of Lost Ark, for example, or the many other titles they're publishing like Throne and Liberty, Blue Protocol, an upcoming Tomb Raider project, and more. It's clear that Amazon sees a future publishing titles for other developers, and I think this will be a bigger part of Amazon's future than even their own games. Christoph also mentions a focus on providing entertaining shows. We know that Amazon owns Twitch, but where it's spending a lot of its time and money lately is in the development of its own content and its Crown channel, which it labels an entertainment destination that combines gaming, pop culture, and real-time audience engagement through Twitch. Amazon has been hiring quite a few production and talent roles for Crown Channel. In fact, one of the only job postings shared after this layoff announcement so far has been for live production roles. The final point discussed here is offering great content via Prime Gaming, which I think really speaks for itself and just helps support their ecosystem even further by having a subscription platform tied to games. So while again, this is bad news, job cuts are never a good thing, it does allow us to see a little bit into the priorities of Amazon when it comes to Amazon games. And to me, it really seems like they're not putting all their focus on developing games, but they're putting it on creating this ecosystem where they can develop games, but also publish games and create content around games. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think there is a different path forward for Amazon games, or would you rather see them focus entirely on developing their own content, or is there something else you'd like to see them do? If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Until the next one.